Okay, I'll jump ahead and we'll pull up a screen immediately here, just so that we're working with this presentation. So, if it's the first time that we've crossed paths, my name is Rich. I am the 5ers and ABL performance coach. I've been trading full time for almost 7 years. It was not 7 years of smooth sailing. I can promise you that now. First couple of years were horrendous, and as I was listening to Mickey talk about closing our biggest ever loss, I think until you've really gone through that as a trader, you don't know the other side of trading. Yeah, a lot of memories as I was listening to that. So today we're going to be talking about self-management and how it plays a major role in successful trading. So if you're currently an unprofitable trader, or maybe you're not where you'd like to be, self-management is a fantastic topic to dive into. So self-management effectively it's self-management in trading is the discipline to control emotions, follow a plan, and make consistent, rational decisions under pressure. Trading has this way of putting pressure on us like nothing else. So it's we've got to keep accountable to being like self-management in every area of trading as well. So today I've put together a step-by-step plan. It's going to help you strengthen your self-management in trading. We're going to start by looking at the areas where self-management is essential. Then we're going to identify our biggest weaknesses and how to uncover what's holding us back. Finally, we're going to dive into the actionable steps to overcome these challenges and help build you into the trader you want to be. So I'm going to give you the plan, but remember, nothing changes without taking action on that plan, okay? That is your responsibility. So we're going to do things a little bit differently today. This isn't just a lecture. This isn't just a presentation. I want you to treat this as an interactive workshop. So imagine you paid big money to be here today. Give it that heightened level of importance. And I want you to really dive into this and do the work as we do it. We're going to build the plan, but I want you to build the plan with me as we go, okay? So if you want to accelerate your trading, you need to do your part. So now's your opportunity to grab something to take notes on, and we're going to work through this together. But first, we're going to take a moment of silence for those who think trading is easy. For those who think they're going to get to where they want to be within their trading careers and they don't have to put in the work.
That is hilarious. Sorry, mate. I had to come in. That killed me.
I'm glad you like that.
Yeah, I love that. That was fantastic, mate. Lovely stuff.
Well, we talk about it all the time. We talk about the idea that, trading isn't easy, but why isn't it easy? And let's break this down into actionable steps. So the idea is to just, if you're planning on watching this and just kind of, I'll do this later, now is your opportunity. It's never going to hit as hard as what it will in the moment, okay? So obviously that's not us. We're not going to be those traders that, say, oh, we'll do this tomorrow. We'll put this in the low priority pile. Today, you get to build a plan. So we're going to identify our weakest link within our trading. We're going to learn how to self-manage it, and we're going to build a plan to overcome it and build it into something pretty awesome. So let's get into it. Self-management pretty much is just about how we manage ourselves. Now, in trading, it's not just the case of clicking buy and sell. There are so many different roles that we take on as a trader. And self-management plays a big part in each one of these roles. So what we're going to do is go over some of these simple roles, and it's important that you write down each one of these as we step through them, because it's going to play a part as to what comes next. So let's see if I can do this correctly. So as a trader, our first job is to be a market analyst. Okay, I know it sounds super simple. We're going to start with the straightforward ones because there's going to be stuff in here that a lot of traders are going to hear for the first time. And they're going to be thinking, I didn't quite figure, actually, that's a part of my trading job. So in the first 2 years, I thought buy, sell, when Lambo. I literally thought it was all about buying and selling. I need to know where to buy and when to buy and how much. And that's it. I'm done. I'm sorted as a trader. That was all I focused on for the first 2 years. It was only after I took on a catastrophic loss. After the first 2 years, I went through something very, very similar to what Mickey went through and explained on stream earlier. I didn't have the discipline 2 years into my trading to close it. However, I have repeated similar events, much more controlled, and I've had the discipline to close those trades later on in my trading career. So we're already seeing grow through that. Anyway, I'm rambling. Let's stick to the notes. Market analyst. Okay, it's our job to figure out in our trading where to buy and where to sell. Right? We have to do our own we have to do our own analysis. We can't copy signals. There's no sustainability in it. We need to build a skill set to figure out how do markets move. How do we interact with them from a buying point? Where do we buy? What's the main reason for it? Next job that we have to do is we are our risk manager. The whole event today is talking about risk management. You should have a basket full of ideas when it comes to risk management. But that is a part of our job as a trader. Okay, so we need to be writing this down. We need to self-manage when it comes to market analyst, self-manage when it comes to risk manager. And we've got to figure out, when we're putting on a trade, how much? Is it too much for our account? Is it too little for our account? How much do we buy? How much do we sell? Can we stomach that? How much are we going to risk? There's another word for risk, which is invest. Some traders prefer the word invest. Some just don't like the idea of how much we risk in a trade. For me personally, I'm moving towards the idea of I invest in a trade because I know it has a proven edge, and risk just carries this undertone of like, oh, it's a bit risky, it's a bit gambly. So self-management, risk manager, our job is to figure out how much are we going to buy? How much are we going to risk? How much are we going to invest on this next singular trade idea? We're also the executing trader. Now, I wanted to bring this up because this is something I actually struggled with in year 3 of my trading. Being the executor trader carries a level of discipline, focus, and organization. There was times where I was not at the chart and I was down the gym. There was other times where I was not at the charts and I was at McDonald's and I forgot to set take profits. That was an expensive lesson. Okay. So as an executing trader, we have to be organized around our physical trading process, the buying and selling. How much you're buying, where are you buying, where's your stop loss going, putting in the physical numbers. Alex and I have had this conversation before about how in big firms, they were actually split. One person could do the analysis, another person could be the risk manager. I think Jordan spoke about this earlier. Another person, it's their job to put on the executing trade. Well, as retail traders, we have to do all 3 of these. We need to have like a balanced skill set in all 3 of these. Take it from someone who learned the hard way. Risk management was probably one of the last ones that I learned. Next up, we're the stop loss enforcer, which kind of ties into risk management. It is our job to manage our stop losses, put a hard stop in the market or a dollar value and have a level where we say at this price point, our trade is cooked. It is invalidated. We need to get out of the market. How many times have we allowed ourselves to extend our stop loss, or worse than that, trade with 0 stop loss? So this is something that we need to self-manage incredibly closely, that we are the stop loss enforcer. Okay, and it's a skill set in itself. Each one of these, they are independent skill sets. That's why we're listing them as independent things, because again, I thought trading was just the case of just click buy and sell in the right places and make money. And in 7 years of full-time trading, I've learned that actually there's a lot of different hats that we have to put on as a trader. Okay, so hopefully we're writing these down. If you haven't, it's not too late. Grab that pen and paper, start scribbling this stuff down, because it's going to feed into what comes shortly. Portfolio manager. It's important that we self-manage our portfolio. Okay, we might have more than one trading account. I remember I was trading 5 accounts manually at the same time, and I ended up putting multiple times, I put the wrong order on the wrong account, and it led me to over risk simply because I wasn't managing my portfolio. Now, trade copiers, I've got everything dialed in. It's much more efficient. I went through everything in portfolio managing. I was like, I'm not going to buy a trade copier. It's too complex. I don't know how it works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the background of every single terminal I have. And for those of you who know me a little bit closer, you'll see that I had terminals with pink backgrounds, terminals with blue backgrounds, terminals with green backgrounds, and terminals with gray backgrounds. And it was my way of making sure that I was always putting the right trade and the right size on the right terminal, because I was trading more than one system. I think all I was doing is just burning my eyes out by staring at an luminous green background. So as a portfolio manager, it is super important to make sure Are you managing your trading accounts from an efficient process perspective? Are they efficient? Is there anything you can do that might just bring up the way that you're managing your trading accounts? Next up, we've got trading psychologist. For many of us, we are our own trading psychologist. It is our responsibility to improve our mindset or set out that workload and then go and do that workload as well. So trading psychology is much like self-management. In fact, it ties incredibly close to self-management. It is a huge topic, but it's super important that as we start to learn more about ourselves, we do the kind of psychology work that resonates. Okay. Otherwise, we're going to be talking a language we don't understand. And each one of us is different when it comes to how we interpret information in the market, how we perceive pain, how we perceive emotions as well. So we're going to go into that stuff a little bit later. But trading psychology is a whole separate subject when it comes to self-management. Okay. Next up, you're the boss. You're the self-coach when it comes to your trading. Trading, unlike many other jobs, you are the person that sets out your schedule. You decide what time you start. You decide what time you stop. You decide what accounts you're trading on. You decide your education. You decide if you're going to buy a course. You decide if you're going to work with a professional or go it solo. You decide that maybe you want a community. Maybe you literally just want to shut the world out and figure out trading on your own. We have to take full ownership that in trading, we are responsible for being the boss and the self-coach. And it can be incredibly difficult to set out a good path and a good workload when we're just figuring out what trading actually is. 2 years, I didn't have a clue what trading was. Again, where to buy, where to sell, I'm sure that's all I need. Now I'm 7 years later being able to expand on the points that I use these things as a personal project. Self-management, huge topic, but also super cool because this is my exact growth path that I put in personally when nobody's watching. I've split all my trading categories into individual projects. I'm not going to jump ahead because otherwise I'm going to ruin what's coming, but I hope we're writing these down. So you're the boss and you've got to take responsibility for where you are in your trading today and how you plan on moving forward with that. Okay, that's your decision. All right. Next up, you're the employee and the student as well. Okay. So when I started to think about trading, I was like, I want to create the most optimal environment that if I was the boss, how could I create like a distraction-free environment where it's the most efficient place to do the actual work that's going to generate a really good skill set. So what I did is I organized an office in a way that it could be like that. I got the second monitor in and made sure it's always clear and well lit and all that stuff, right? Then I had to become the employee and the student that sits and does that work free of distractions. So I'm kind of creating like the perfect environment. And then I'm trying to be the perfect student as well. And again, coming back to that, knowing ourselves better, where are our shortfalls? What do we distract ourselves with easy? Are we just doom scrolling on the internet? I can promise you now, there are hundreds of traders in here right now with other tabs open on their phone, on their PC, on their laptops, and they're going to just be listening to this in the background. And they're just constantly putting their attention on things that they think they're doing the work. How do I know this? 2 hands up. I was this guy. I was exactly this person when it came to my trading. I wasted so much time and I wasted so much energy. And I have such a passion for helping traders to pull themselves through this environment. But key word there, pull yourselves through. So we are the student, we are the employee, we have to do the job. Okay. Next up, you're the fundamental analyst. It is your responsibility to set your news events on your calendar. Part of my daily ASR, one of the very first things in there, it says check news calendar. I have built a routine that I will not check my terminal. I will not open my terminal and check price action until I've opened the news calendar. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an alert in my phone 15 minutes before, and I'm going to make sure that I manage myself around red news events. Red news events, typically something I'm not trading, and I want to make sure that I'm out of the market because it's difficult to manage risk if the market might gap or bringing bring in unexpected volatility. So I want to know when those news events are. Maybe you want to follow the fundamentals. For me, I'm not sort of following the fundamentals too closely. I'm an intraday trader. I'm down on the lower time frames, so the kind of higher time frame bias doesn't affect too much as to the lower time frame moves for me. I'm able to find small movements in the market, but I still have to be conscious. I still have to self-manage in fundamental analyst. Okay, keeping an eye on when those news events come in. Next up, we are the back and the forward tester. So back testing is where we're looking at data from the past, the candlesticks on the past, and we're looking at this and we're trying to figure out what kind of patterns work. How does the market move? How does it react to these areas or these zones or these pullbacks? Or what is the tools that we would like to use? So back testing is an incredible tool to develop kind of like awareness of how markets move. Forward testing is how well we can implement the knowledge that we've got with no hindsight. Okay, so they both play a very important part of a trader's career. How are we self-managing ourselves when it comes to our workload? Back testing, forward testing. Is there rooms for improvement on it? Next up, this is a big one, and this is probably going to make a lot of people go, "Oh, Rich, come on, don't do this to us." Well, I'm the guy that's going to do it. I'm going to pull it up because there's no point having blind spots within our trading and just pretending like they're not important. These things on the screen, they are super, super important. They're not everything that a trader needs to pay attention to, but there's some of the core ones. So journaling and reviewer as well. What does this mean? Well, journaling. Let's say, for an example, right, we're going to go up here, we're going to look at market analyst. Let me just adjust my screen. There we go. Market analyst. We're going to look up here. Let's say that every day we're coming to the market and we're clicking buy, and the market is just roaring straight through our entry into our stop loss. What if it does that 25 days in a row? Journaling is a fantastic way of bringing that to our attention, okay? What if we're over-risking or under-risking in a trade? And we do this day after day after day. What if we're scared? What if we're sizing down, right? Every day we wake up with a new level of enthusiasm. And then the market beats us out of it throughout the day. And then when we get to the end of the day and we say, you know what, I should have sized up today. All my trade analysis, they worked. Next day comes, oh, you know what? I'm just going to go back to where I'm comfortable. I'm going to trade small risk. If we were to journal around that and review the journal, we could see the behavior pattern and we are more likely to bring it to our awareness. If we can bring it to our awareness, it's no longer a blind spot. We can build a plan and we can fix it, right? Executing trader as well. If you're at McDonald's every other day and you're not keeping an eye on the charts, you journal about it, you're going to find these behavior patterns. You're going to figure out how to improve it. Stop loss enforcer. If you're the person that doesn't have a stop loss and the market runs against you and you find yourself literally paralyzed because your trade idea is long gone, there is nothing about your analysis that now supports you could be correct. Yet we're holding on to this trade and we're just frozen. I've been there. And at the time, I wasn't journaling. Journaling is a fantastic way of sitting down and saying, right, Rich, how do you feel? Numb. Okay, why do you feel numb? Because I don't know what to do. Okay, what do you not know what to do with? Well, I'm kind of in this trade and it's not going very well. Minus X amount of thousands. Okay, what are you going to do about this? Well, my trade idea is kind of like, it's kind of dead like 60 pips ago. And I wish I closed the trade, but I didn't. Now I'm in this huge loss and I can't close this trade. We're starting to bring to our awareness what that action step would be. And a wonderful way of doing this is saying, look, maybe you don't have the skill set today that you want, but what would the version of you do if you did have that skill set? The amount of trades I've closed because of that, where I've sat there offside in the market and I said, I hope this pulls back. And I'm offside. My trade is finished. I shouldn't be in this. I've now got a bias to switch my position, and I've not done it. The amount of times I said, Rich, you know what's stopping you from being the trader you want to be? It's this. It's sitting in a trade. So the better version of you would close this because it's no longer a valid trade. And you would journal that actually you didn't manage your risk. You didn't enforce your stop loss. You're going to journal about that. And if you find that you do it too many times, you're going to fix it. So journaling is an incredible, powerful tool to make sure that we're doing the right work that we need to do as a trader, okay? And the journals aren't worth anything if you don't review them. This is why weekly reviews and monthly reviews play such a key part in trading. Anyway, I left the last one, the best one till last. Emotional controller. It is our responsibility as a part of a self-management is to be the emotional gatekeeper, is to be the person in our trading environment that controls our emotions. And this is a sticky topic, but we're gonna dive into this because it's super interesting how emotional controller can affect many of these other things up on the screen. So definitely something that you need to be aware of, but we are going to dive into that in a second. So if you've done this and you've written down these things and you've got a few notes on it on the way, what I want you to do in the chat is I want you to type done. I want to get a little bit of feedback to make sure that we're not moving too fast. Again, this is designed to be interactive, and I want to make sure that everybody here is getting enough opportunity to step through these things and that we're not jumping ahead. So just take your time to run through these, and when you've got all of them written down, now what you can do, you might look at something like this and go employee and student. You might say, well, that's not really a part. I don't resonate with that. Rich, that might be good for you, but that's not quite good for me. You could consider swapping out employee and student for something that's a bit more personal. So if you see something that's not on this screen that's a part of your trading journey, consider swapping it out. If it's market analyst, then stop copying other people's trades, all right? If it's risk manager, I don't know what kind of trader in here is you've got to manage risk. That's one kind of fundamental component. Now, I can see a lot of us are saying that we've done this. Now, here's the interesting part. Here's the cool bit. What I want you to do is I want you to go through each one of these and I want you to mark them from 1 to 10. You're going to score each one from 1 to 10. So number 1 is going to be, you definitely need a little bit of work. Number 10 is hold my beer, look at me, I'm absolutely a legend, okay? Now, it's okay to use the same number twice. So market analyst, I'll go ahead and I'll actually pull up here. So you can see that I've scored these. So 10 is the absolute highest score that you could have. 1, you probably need to have a little bit of a rethink as to how you're approaching it. Now, it's okay to take your time within this because a lot of traders in here, this is the first time where they're going to see, oh, actually, yeah, I have to take self-management when it comes to my portfolios. I have to take self-management when it comes to my emotions. There's going to be a lot of things in here that might be new information to you. So just be as honest as you can. And if you've got a 6 or a 7 and you go, well, executing trader, I'm kind of like a 6 or a 7, round down. I want you to round down. Nobody wants to be king of confidence when it's not the reality, right? We want to make sure that we're being brutally honest about this. The whole kind of idea of this this workshop is to be able to bring to our attention that thing that's holding us back. Okay. You don't need to write it in chat. You can if you want. You can spam some heart emojis if you want. You can subscribe, do all that good stuff and thumbs up and that if you want. But what I want you to do is I want to write on your notes. I want you to write on your notes, what are the scores on this? Now, if you've written 10, 10, 10, 10, then I'll tell you what, it's hard to learn anything new when our cup is full, right? So
absolute legendary trader who ever hit 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 on everything.
I reckon they just hopped in. I reckon that's who it is.
That is it. I know a couple of 10-10s here. That's Louis, you. There you go. A couple of 10-10s.
So we want to become aware of this stuff, okay? So let me pull up there. I've got a couple of notes to the side. So we've scored all of these and we're starting to bring to our awareness of what our strong suits are and what our weak suits are as well, okay? Now, when you've done this, I want you to write in chat, what is your lowest scoring topic? What is the thing on this list that you have scored the lowest? What is that thing? So in this example, we can see emotional controller. I've gone ahead for this example. I put it as a number 2, okay? It's probably what it does on my trading. I've gone ahead and put this as a number 2 because this is something that's actually, super important. It's a low score. There's many conversations to be had about, as we come into trading, how well equipped are we to be traders? I remember the opening thought as I learned about trading. Yeah, I'll figure this out. That was it. I had a huge ego and I didn't realize. So this is something that, we need to be really, really mindful of, brutally honest. So if you can write in chat, which one is your lowest scoring topic? And we'll give chat just a moment to catch up with this. Because I want you to understand the relationship here. And this is super interesting between all of these things. They're interconnected. So if you imagine a chain, like imagine a big boat and then it has an anchor and you have a chain. Now that chain, each component is made up of individual links. Now it's very important to understand that these things on this page, they're like links in a chain. They all connect to each other. Okay. Each link connects to the next link and to the next link and to the next link. So we might be a poor risk manager. Okay. Let's say we look at this and we say poor risk manager, and we give that a number 1. We say that is the thing that I am the worst at. Well, if you're not managing your risk, let's just say, we're taking on too much risk and we take a loss, that could affect our ability to emotionally control. Okay, so that could affect our ability to emotional control if we took a loss that's way too big. So by being a poor risk manager, we might be suppressing the score of our emotional control. Okay, so I want to share a story with you. Now this was probably about 3 years ago, and I put in the 5ers Discord, and I wrote a message, and I said, does anybody know how to forge, and not just build, but forge and maintain a rock solid trading mindset? Like, what would be the work that we would do every single day to maintain that mindset and put us into a position where we are just trading our best, trading our absolute best every single day? And always remember this reply I got. And the trader said, just like going to the gym, you cannot spot train where you will lose fat. You cannot decide where you lose fat when it comes to training in the gym. It just comes off your whole body as a byproduct of doing the right work. They said, in the same way that you cannot spot train your psychology is built as a byproduct of having balance and self-management across many other areas within our trading, not just psychology. And I always remembered that. And I was like, wow, like it's important to remember just how well these things are connected. So all these things on this page, they have some kind of entwined relationship with each other. So you might be, for an example, you might be a great emotional controller. You might have wonderful self-awareness. You might have wonderful self-control, but you might be terrible at risk management. Well, that just means you feel fine about blowing up your trading accounts. So they have a relationship with each other. And what we want to do is we want to identify which one is the lowest. So if you've done this, put it in chat. I want you to write down, what is your lowest score? Did you put boss and self-coach? Are you a terrible boss? Are you like a really harsh critic to yourself? Are you a really lazy student? Is that the one that come up as a 2? So it's super important to be honest with ourselves, because you might have an 8 or a 9 or a 10 for many of these, but you might have 1 or 2 that's really low scored, like this emotional control down here. And we're going to develop that weakest link, and we're going to work on that lowest score, and we're going to bring it up until it's no longer the lowest score. And then we're going to work on the next lowest score. And it's a combination of just constantly working on the lowest scoring section that we're going to build up our skill set so that all we've got in our trading is 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s. It is, we've heard of the 80-20 rule, right? Where we can do 20% of the work, get 80% of the results. Think about the gym analogy. In the beginning, you get them beginner gains. In trading, we soak up a lot of new information. Well, there might be things in your trading that you can just put in 20% of the work, and you can get massive increments on that score as well. So definitely something to be mindful of when it comes to that. Okay, because we're always pulled down to our weakest link. Okay, if we're a terrible emotional controller, it's going to affect everything in our trading as well. So it doesn't matter how good you are at technicals. If you get emotional every time you take a loss in your revenge trade, your technical analysis isn't really worth a lot, right? We get traders in the market that love to be right, and they're not good at earning money. We get traders in the market that have wonderful emotional control, but they're not good at earning money. We want to be in the market to be earning, to be building a skill set, earning capital on that. And one of the most powerful ways I've found to do it is to collectively self-manage across the board, to build our skill set up and focus on being way more than just a trader that clicks buy and sell. So let's have a quick look in chat, and we'll get some feedback on what kind of answers that we've got at the moment. I can see. Let's have a look. Emotional control, journal, emotional control, trading psychology. Stop loss enforcer is coming up. I'll click on some of these, pull them up. So we've got journaler reviewer as well, backtest forward tester, risk manager, emotional control. Backtest forward test and boss. I give myself too much time off as well. Love it. Journaling is the worst part. There's a lot of traders that have identified that journaling could be a bit of a blind spot for them as well. Jane, you've got all of the qualities, which is great because you've identified the areas in your trading that you can really build up your skill set as well. We've got emotional controller, journaler, risk management. Okay, we've got a lot of good answers in chat. Now, the important thing in this is the majority of traders are going to fail. Okay, this is something to really, like, if you do your research on the internet, you're going to find the majority of traders, they fail. It's not because they lack knowledge. It's because they can't control their emotions. Let me put it another way. We choose the wrong action for the emotion that we're feeling. All right. And I'm going to repeat that because it's super, super important that we wrap our mind around this. Okay. I was 2.5 years into my trading career, and if somebody said this to me, I would go, shut up, Rich. I don't think there are truer words that resonate with me as a trader of almost 7 years. We choose the wrong emotion for how we are feeling. Okay. Sorry, we choose the wrong action for the emotions that we're feeling, right? So we need to identify what is our trigger. We always talk about, like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? The trigger is what's going to hit you first. The emotion is what comes after. What you choose to do as an action comes after that. So many traders, they'll say, Rich, I struggle with over trading. And I'm like, you don't struggle with over trading. You struggle with your emotions. And you don't struggle with your emotions, you struggle with identifying the trigger that's causing that emotion. So for me, for an example, right, my biggest trigger is a bad loss. That is the thing that gets me as a trader. I'll go from a 2 to 10 emotionally so quickly because I've taken a bad loss. Okay. So let's say, for an example, market analyst. Right. My job is I put a limit order on the market and I want to trade there. If I take a trade outside of that analysis and it loses, that's a bad loss. That's not a trade that's in my trading plan. That's not a trade that I should even be in. Risk manager. If I size up too much on a trade because I think I can pick the next winner, which I'll give you a little clue here, we can't. Okay, this is why we have to use risk management in trading. We do not know the order in which the winners and losses will come in. Trading is a probability game. Maybe you got a 70% win rate at 1-to-1. You don't know when the losses will come. So we have to manage risk. If I've sized up and risked too much, that's a bad loss. If I've chased a trade because I didn't execute the way I was, like if I looked at this and said, look, I should have gotten here, I didn't see it in time, the market's moving away, I've got that FOMO, I'm going to put on a trade, and I enter at a bad price, that is a bad loss. If I don't respect my stop loss, that is a bad loss. If I'm trading on the wrong account, and I've done this before, when I was trading, I had my trade copy out, and I said, you know what? I kind of like this trade, but I'm a little bit nervous about it. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to go into my trade copy, and I'm just going to pick one account, and I'm just gonna trade on just that one account this time, rather than trading on my master account that would have copied it across my portfolio. I just singled out one account. I was like, you know what? If it loses, I'll be glad that I only took a loss on one account. If it wins, that'll be a good problem to have. The trade won, and now I'm sitting there going, I just won $150, and I should have won X. And we just know the next trade is probably going to be the loss, right? So, portfolio manager, if I'm not trading the way that I should be on my accounts, that's a bad loss. And even a win that wasn't taken correctly is a bad loss. Okay, so that's my trigger. It's first, I'm hit with the trigger. Next comes the emotion, and then often we choose the wrong action to deal with the emotion that we're experiencing. Don't believe me? Think about road rage. Prime example, right? So I want to show you how damaging it is to have all of these things under control, but then emotions just comes in as a two. It drags everything down to the lowest possible level. As I said, if you can't control your emotions, your analysis isn't really worth a lot. And effectively, this is what the weakest link is doing in our trading. It is breaking that connection. It is breaking that chain. It is breaking that wonderful process, that feedback loop that we have as a trader. So it's super important to recognize which one of these is dragging down your trading. Which one is your lowest possible score? And I just want to say thank you for everyone who's been stepping through this and doing this. Like, genuinely, you are building the skill set that the future you will thank you for in the future. This is the kind of work I had no insights of when I started trading, because I was watching dumb videos on the internet, buying into the idea that trading is going to be super easy, make me rich. I'm rich by name. I'm rich by many other things, actually. Yeah, outside of trading, but that's not one for this kind of thing. I'm rambling. Get back onto the point, mate.
Motorbikes as well. He's rich with motorbikes.
You know it. You know, actually, I've got something there. All right, we'll move on. Easily distracted. Back to this previous slide. No matter what your issue is that you're experiencing, we can approach this from a very simple plan. It's exactly the same template. So it doesn't matter if you said that you're a really bad boss in your trading, or you're a bad risk manager, or you're a bad portfolio manager. Whatever one that you identified is your lowest possible score, we can address this through this plan. This is the improvement plan. If you're serious about bringing up the score that you identified in your trading that's holding you back, okay, if you're not getting the result you want and you're super frustrated, and at the end of the day, you just feel like trading needs a little bit more time, well, this is your actionable step. And if you really, really want to grow, you'll take the time to challenge each one of these and see, what does this mean for you? Is this your growth opportunity? So first of all, we would identify the problem. So if we go back one slide, we can see, nope, hold on. We can see emotional controller. This is our problem, okay? So we've identified our problem. So those of you who have done this in chat, you've identified your problem today, or one of your problems. Then we're going to set a clear goal. So maybe we want to get our emotional score from a 2 to a 9. That's a big old jump. So we're going to break that down, and we're going to say, okay, that might be too big. So we're going to try and bring our emotional score from a 2 to a 3. We're going to create a system and a routine that's going to help us bridge that tiny gap from going from a 2 to a 3. And then when we get to a 3, we might go to a 4. We're going to track that and reflect on how that process is going for us. We can do that through journaling. I was speaking to a wonderful trader more recently, and they had actually tracked this behavior pattern based on how well they performed, and they put it into an equity curve. And it wasn't based on their P&L, it was based on their behavior pattern. So journaling is a great way to do it. Audio, like audio reviews. A lot of traders that I speak to, they have they create YouTube content and they put a review about themselves, just chatting through their trading and saying, "Hey, this is what I learned today." It's a great opportunity to reflect. This is why I was super excited to do this talk today, because it is something that I'm applying across my trading. And if you're a bigger student than me, then I congratulate you on it, because I'm a massive nerd when it comes to dialing in that student work and becoming that better trader. And nobody else is going to do it for me. So we're going to track it, we're going to reflect it, and as we get a bit more experience, we're going to be qualified to adjust and improve. Remember what I said about earlier, finding that language that resonates with you. So you don't know what you don't know. And once you get a bit more experience in stuff, you can adjust and you can improve and you can dial that process in to speak your language. And then we stay consistent and we're patient, because everything that we have spoken about today is a skill. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's something you practice and refine and you apply over time. So every single one of these that you see on here, it's a skill set that you can work towards and you can build up your score and become the trader that you would like to be. So super important to set small goals, stay consistent and patient as well. Summary. And if you've got any questions on anything that you want to have a chat about this, we're going to have an opportunity after this to dive into some questions and kind of play around with this topic for a little bit longer. So we spoke about trading is more than just buying and selling. Okay, it's way more than that. When it comes to self-management, there's a lot of things that we need to be conscious of and building skill sets in. We spoke about the other areas where self-management is important. We identified our lowest scoring area. We built an action plan to improve that lowest score. The next steps are to identify your next lowest scoring area, and you just repeat the process. And this is the blueprint. This is the step-by-step guide that I put in place 4 years ago. And it is building me every single day into the trader I would like to become. Important note to finish on, you do not have to be perfect. You do not need a 10 across the board to make a little bit more than you lose. I'm a walking example of that. But just getting a little bit better than you were yesterday, it's a great place to be. I'm going to invite Alex to join us up on here. Otherwise, I'm going to keep rambling to myself and invite any questions. You are muted. Mate.
Muted, yeah. Do you know what? These are the things that I think are super important, because you can have all the skills, or all the techniques, all the setups, and you can have literally the setups. Somebody can give you a setup that they make money with, that works, and you may use it and it just won't work. And it just goes to show that first you need to actually understand yourself and what you need, and trade the way that is congruent to your personality.
Yeah.
But also is just your mental side. And I think once you have a little bit of an edge, then it's all about execution. We always talk about, you and I always talk about, like, reps in the gym. Yeah. It's like you're going to go onto the bench. You have to put in the repetitions. You have to warm yourself up. You have to put in the repetitions, because you're not going to go from doing a 60 bench to 120 bench in, jumping and stepping onto that straight away. It takes time. It takes steps. You have to warm yourself up. Sometimes you have to deload. For everybody that's a gym bro, you understand what that means. But all of these different concepts that Rich has gone on are super important, and they're the things when you start to implement, you're not going to see a change straight away. Mm-hmm. They honestly, you need to actually be consistent with these things as well, because only after you're a little bit consistent with this, then you're going to start seeing these things. There was a conversation Rich and I had about 3 months ago, and Rich was being very polite and saying, "Alex, stop acting like a expletive, stop acting like in this." And after that conversation, I came out of that and I stopped acting less like a expletive. I started actually not trading randomly, because I trade quite a lot. I'm quite an active, aggressive trader. And I focused on really two main ways of trading. Obviously, I have the punt here and there, and there's a little bit of a punt pot that we've talked about, haven't we, Rich?
We
But
have.
once you focus on those types of things and you focus on your mindset coming into your trading, you will then see massive effects. But again, it's consistency, like anything.
Yeah, Alex, I like that you said that you did less of that, because we often think, right,
You can't get rid of it. You don't want to get rid of it as well. We're human.
Yeah, but going cold turkey is a dangerous thing. When you have a behavior pattern that you've probably done your whole life and it resonates with who you are. For an example, you might love adrenaline, it's excitement, something like that. To just cut that out, it's not good. That's not a good thing. Like to just recognize where there's a time to grab a handful of throttle and where there's a time to maybe back it off a little bit. Like, that's already massive improvement. And everybody is on their own personal journey when it comes to this. My triggers won't be Alex's triggers, and Alex's triggers won't be anybody else's triggers. They're going to be unique, and this is why. And I saw it in chat, and a big salute there is know thyself. And I hear this again and again and again from the scruffy trader, and it's know thyself. Just the more you can learn about yourself, the more you can understand your triggers, the more you can understand what you're good at as well. Today, we've just spoken about what are the things that we're not so good at. You can do this whole exercise in reverse and identify what you're good at and say, am I a fish trying to climb a tree? Am I genuinely, like, really poorly aligned? You might be super impatient and you're trying to be a swing trader or a position trader. You might be super patient and you're a scalper. Like, how do we get past that without knowing more about ourselves, right?
That is one of the biggest things that I uncovered with my trading, was just the fact that I'm impulsive. I'm not patient. And that works in my favors because I'm on the lower time frame. When I have to make a decision, I make a decision fast. And that's it. If I'm looking at a trade on a higher time frame and I'm in there's too much going on and there's too much things that can affect the trade. For me, I can't even sleep. I can't sleep when I go home. I'm just focusing on that all the time. So for me, that instant gratification, even though we say it's really, really bad, for me, it's perfect because it means that I can get in, I can get out, and then I can go to sleep and I can recover. Things like sleep, things like eating enough calories, things like drinking enough water are all gonna actually help with your trading. If you've got a clear mind, you are going to feel so much better about making sound decisions. If you've gone out and you've got drunk, or you've been, I don't know, not sleeping very well, and then you come in and you're naturally already tired, and then just so you can get a little bit of a buzz, you end up putting random trades on to get a little bit of a feeling something because you're just tired and worn out. Then you end up losing, and then you don't revenge trade. And it's these cycles of things that happen, but they happen because of little things like this. But if you can get consistent with the things that you understand are your blind spots, and you can get consistent with your health, and you can put all of these things in place, I promise you can make a lot of money in trading. And then you just got to learn how to keep it. But step by step, step by step.
How long did it take you? How many years did it take you to figure out just how personal trading is?
No, I knew quite fast how the kind of blind spots that it was showing me in my personality. I knew because I could see it. The only thing is, I'm lousy at learning from mistakes.
Okay.
So it's taken me quite a few years to really learn from my mistakes and just not get rid of them. I make mistakes all the time. There was a mistake I did when it came to Solana, my spot portfolio. I had a stop to get out of my whole spot portfolio of Solana at 170. Recently, I removed that spot. Look at Solana now; it's 110. There was a reason why I put that stop there in my rational mind, but now I looked at the chart and I was looking, it was coming down. My irrational mind was saying, oh, it's just gonna come back and then spike straight up. And so I make mistakes all the time. You're never gonna get rid of mistakes, but you can start getting better at not making mistakes.
Absolutely.
And slowly.
That's the journey of a trader, isn't it? Is just improving.
Big time. And this is the stuff when I say is like, I think performance coaches are super important because, I go back to the gym because it's the easiest thing to discuss, or like martial arts, is that all the stuff that you need to do. Like, let's say when it comes to counting calories or making weight, the stuff that you have to do. But when you have a coach that is there, that is showing you the things that you have to do, that you are accountable to as well, it's game changing. It really is. Like, I know how to cut weight. I know how to put on weight. I know how to lose weight. But my best results have come when I've got somebody there that I'm like, that put me in my spot, that if I haven't done it, like, I'm in the shit, basically.
Yeah.
So it's important stuff.
I think it's also, there is a theory that there are a limited amount of decisions that the person's mind can make during the day to stay focused. And the more decisions you make on your own, the more difficult it becomes to make the rest ones. So if you focus on all the other important decisions and stress around, and then you come on the charts and need to make the right decisions in your trading, that becomes even more difficult. Whether if you have someone who also helps you to stay on track with other things, discipline, right? With trading, for example, or the performer coach in the gym, your personal trainer, then I think it just becomes also easier, right? Because we are all human beings. And sometimes one day it's easier, one day it's more difficult, of course.
Yeah, there's this super interesting thing I want to touch on is like, I look at you guys and I think, wow, Anastasia and Alex, they're on their chapter 18, maybe they're chapter 19, chapter 20, whatever the case might be, right?
10.5 if I'm lucky.
Okay, well, whatever that number is, it's easy for us to look at and say, wow, look, this trader is in this area, and maybe I'm on my chapter 2. And we get so fixated on, I just want to jump to where, like, we see these other traders, but you don't see what happens behind closed doors. These traders are repping it out year after year after year. And so rather than saying, how can I move from my chapter 3 to my chapter 15? Why don't you just focus on moving from your chapter 3 to your chapter 4? And I know it's not sexy. I know it is the most boring work in the world. But how did Alex get to his chapter 10.5? How did Anastasia get to your chapter? We going 10.5?
25. Chapter 25. With a trilogy on its way.
So coming through that, chapters 1 into 2, 3, 4, 5. We can't jump. Unfortunately, we can't jump. The psychology, the brain, it just has to get used to it. So focusing on small baby steps. And if you can't see how to move forward, you're probably looking too far in the distance. Focus on just that next step. And if you do that, you can literally follow the blueprint and the framework that we use today. And it is so universal, such a powerful thing. I don't think it ever gets old.
Yeah, couldn't say it any better, to be honest.
I found that it helped me to not put the goal to where I want to be in 6 months or a year from now within my trading, because, well, it depends. I might not even know which difficulties I'm going to face, on my way. I might not even know some aspects of my character that I'm going to be uncovered during my trading. So I figured out that for me, over the years, it was better to check in on the progress. So what have I done different in the past 3 months, 6 months that helped me to move forward? Am I doing anything different, or am I continuing falling into the trap of doing the same thing and expecting the different result? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Because it's not that we as traders don't know what we are supposed to do. It's not that, of course, there are a lot of golden, nuggets and golden information on the stream today. But in reality, a lot of people know that they are supposed to manage risks, manage emotions, do not trade when they are stressed, not scaling too much in, and so on and so on. But it's about the things that we know we need to do, but we are not doing still. And that's, I think, where we need to be checking in with ourselves to not fall into the same trap over and over and over again.
And it's easily done. You can do it, and you can waste a lot of years doing it. It's like, Rich, the group that we've got, Full Margin, all of us in there have been been trading for so long and gone through all of these things, and I think having a place where everybody is together, one of the things that we were doing in Alpha Beta, having a place where people are in that same journey keeps you accountable, because when you're trading alone as well, it is tough, and sometimes you don't even see some of the things that you are actually going wrong in until somebody turns around and be like, mate, you notice that you're doing this thing and that thing. And then it's like you sit back and you're like, wow, am I actually making really good money when in the morning when I haven't got decision fatigue? And then while I'm in the afternoon, after I've been streaming and doing loads of work, then I'm losing all that money because, you know, I'm tired and I'm making bad decisions. You know, something you might be thinking that instantly could be your edge, just changing that one thing in your behavior. So
I can't add to that.
Just jump into ABL, guys. Everybody, ABL. Rich is there. He's going to be there, and he's going to be keeping you all accountable. Well, there you go. All right, Rich, have you got anything that you want to give the audience? Any little bit of nuggets of special nuggets or whatever we call them?
Special nuggets.
Is that what we call them? I don't
special
think that's how we call it. No, but you know, my English has got so bad recently. But there you go.
Yeah,
have you got any nuggets of whatever?
I do. I have this. I have this really super cool special nugget that would have done the job perfectly. The only problem is I got too excited, and I alluded to it earlier. And I said, let's stop focusing on Alex's chapter, 10.5, and Anastasia's 25. Just focus on your next step. That's pretty much it. That's all I got. Is just focus on your very next step as a trader, and just keep refining your processes. Stay patient, stay disciplined, and it'll fall into place.
Amazing, mate. Well, there you go, guys. Thank you very much for Rich to come in and do that fantastic presentation. See you later, Rich.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.